Ladies and gentlemen, it is both an honor and a responsibility to stand before you today to talk about a subject that is more than science, more than medicine, more than exercise routines or numbers on a chart. It is about something that touches the very essence of our humanity, our independence, our ability to move freely, and the gift of living life with energy and dignity as we age. You see, when we speak about health after 60, we are not merely speaking of preventing disease. We are talking about preserving the freedom to bend down and tie your own shoes, to walk unassisted into the embrace of a grandchild, to rise from a chair without hesitation, and to live a life where strength and vitality are still yours. Now, I know that for decades the universal advice has been, just walk. Walking is enough. And yes, walking has its benefits. Without a doubt. It keeps circulation flowing, it encourages joint mobility, it provides a low-impact form of cardiovascular movement. But my friends, what if I told you that for adults over 60 walking, though good, is not enough? What if I told you that there are surgeon-approved exercises that not only match walking, but actually surpass it in protecting your muscles, your joints, your balance, and even your brain? This is not simply theory. This is what I have seen again and again in practice, in hospitals, in rehabilitation centers, in research, and in the quiet but powerful transformations of older men and women who once believed their best years were behind them. Allow me to share with you not just the science, but the stories, the journeys of people who discovered that life beyond 60 could still be strong, active, and filled with possibility. Take Maria, for example. She was 67 when I first met her. A retired teacher, sharp as a tack, but her body was betraying her. She had been doing what most health articles recommend she walked. Every morning, every evening, rain or shine. Yet she came to me frustrated, because despite her dedication, she found herself weaker, struggling to climb stairs, her knees aching, her balance increasingly unstable. The cruel irony was that though she walked diligently, her body continued to lose the very strength she needed to sustain her independence. When she fell one afternoon reaching for a book on a high shelf, it was the wake-up call she never wanted. Walking alone had not been enough to protect her. And then there was James, a 72-year-old widower who once loved playing tennis in his youth. He, too, believed walking would carry him through the years. But he found himself slowing down, withdrawing socially, losing confidence. When he came to me, I saw a man who was not only losing muscle, but losing part of his identity, because the body he relied upon could no longer, with the spirit inside him. Why do I tell you these stories? Because they remind us that aging is not simply a number on a birthday cake. It is biology, and biology demands that we respect the laws of adaptation. As we age, something insidious happens: sarcopenia, the gradual loss of muscle mass. It does not wait politely. It begins as early as our 40s and accelerates after 60. By the time many reach 70, they may have lost nearly 1/3 of the muscle they had in their youth. Walking alone does not rebuild what time quietly erodes. If we do not challenge the body in the right ways, muscle fibers shrink, bones weaken, reflexes dull, and the nervous system becomes less responsive. But here is the beauty: the decline is not inevitable. Science shows us that the right exercises, targeted, deliberate, and safe, can not only slow this process but actually reverse it. Surgeons have long known this, because when we prepare patients for joint replacement surgery or recovery from major procedures, the single strongest predictor of outcome is not the surgeon's skill alone. It is the patient's muscle strength and balance going in. Those who train their bodies with the right exercises heal faster, walk sooner, live longer. That is why I stand here today, to share with you the 5 surgeon-approved exercises that outperform walking for adults over 60. Now, before I unveil each, I want you to think of this not as a list, but as a story of what your body needs to thrive. These exercises are not exotic. They are not dangerous. They are, in fact, deeply natural, echoing the movements our ancestors relied upon to survive. They work because they engage multiple systems of the body at once: muscular, skeletal, neurological, cardiovascular, creating a cascade of benefits that walking alone simply cannot deliver. The first, as simple as it sounds, is the sit-to-stand movement. You may know it as standing up from a chair without using your hands. To the casual observer, it looks almost too simple. But think about it. How many times a day do you rise from a chair, from a toilet, from the edge of your bed? This is not just an exercise. It is a life function. When Maria began training with repeated sit-to-stands, her quadriceps, glutes, and core slowly grew stronger. Within weeks, she could rise with ease. Within months, her confidence soared, and she no longer feared losing her balance when climbing stairs. Studies have shown that the sit-to-stand test is one of the strongest predictors of future independence. Why? Because it represents both strength and coordination in one motion. Walking may move you forward, but standing up keeps you free. The second is step-ups. Picture a low stair, a sturdy box, or a platform. When James began practicing step-ups, he rediscovered something he thought he had lost forever: the athleticism of his youth. Step-ups mimic the act of climbing, engaging not just the legs but the stabilizers of the hips and core. They challenge balance. They train the body to handle uneven ground. And they build the kind of functional strength that prevents falls. I once had a patient who loved hiking but had given it up out of fear. Step-ups restored her ability to tackle hills with her grandchildren. Walking on a flat sidewalk could never have given her that. The third is resistance-based rowing. And no, this does not mean you need to own a boat or a machine. Resistance bands, even light ones, can awaken the back muscles, the shoulders, the arms, all of which tend to wither when people think only of legs. Here's why it matters: your posture is your anchor. Weak back muscles lead to a hunched spine, reduced lung capacity, and impaired balance. But when you strengthen those pulling muscles, something incredible happens. You breathe better, you stand taller, and you reduce strain on your joints. A woman once told me that after incorporating resistance rows into her routine, she no longer felt winded after a long conversation because her chest could expand fully again. The fourth exercise is heel raises. Simple, yes, but profoundly effective. Standing and lifting your heels off the ground, rising onto your toes, seems like child's play. Yet this move strengthens the calves, improves ankle stability, and sharpens the proprioceptive feedback, the body's sense of where it is in space. For adults over 60, falls are not just accidents, they are turning points. A broken hip can mean the end of independence. Heel raises, by strengthening the smallest but most vital stabilizers of the body, can mean the difference between catching yourself or collapsing when you stumble. I remember a gentleman in his 80s who told me, after months of heel raises, "I feel like my feet finally talk to my brain again." That is neuro-muscular communication at work. And the fifth, perhaps the most underestimated of all, the bridge. Lying on your back, knees bent, lifting your hips into the air. The bridge does more than sculpt muscles. It activates the glutes, the powerhouse of the human body. Weak glutes are the hidden culprit behind back pain, knee pain, even balance problems. When patients recovering from hip surgery are prescribed bridges, their recovery accelerates dramatically. When older adults add them to their daily lives, they reclaim the ability to walk farther, stand longer, and move with less pain. Walking does not target the glutes the way bridges do, but when you strengthen them, your entire chain of movement, from spine to ankle, benefits. Ladies and gentlemen, these 5 exercises, sit-to-stands, Step-ups, resistance rows, heel raises, and bridges are the unsung heroes of healthy aging. They are not complicated. They do not require fancy equipment. But they are surgeon-approved because they target the exact systems that fail us first as we age: strength, balance, coordination, posture, and neuromuscular resilience. Together, they form a shield against the fragility that walking alone cannot prevent. Now, some of you may be wondering, is it too late for me? What if I am already 65, 70, 80? Let me assure you, it is never too late. I have seen muscles grow in octogenarians. I have seen posture straighten in those long resigned to the stoop of age. I have seen life return to eyes that had dimmed with the fear of dependence. And I will pause here, because the story I want to share next is one that ties everything I've said into the deepest meaning of this journey. And I will pause here, because the story I want to share next is one that ties everything I've said into the deepest meaning of this journey. Because it's not just about the exercises themselves, it's about what they restore in the human spirit. There was a man named Edward, 81 years old, retired engineer, father of 3, grandfather of 6. By the time he came to us, he had stopped driving, stopped traveling, and was living almost entirely within the confines of his small home. His wife had passed away years earlier, and though his children visited, he confessed that he felt more like a burden than a presence in their lives. He had grown hesitant with every step, leaning heavily on his cane, avoiding social outings because he feared he might stumble. What haunted him most was not the physical pain. It was the loss of dignity, the shrinking of his world. When we introduced him to the 5 exercises I've shared with you today, he was skeptical. He said, "At my age, what difference will it make?" And I looked at him and replied, "Edward, the difference is not just in your legs or your arms. The difference will be in your life." So we began. At first, he struggled to rise from a chair without his hands. Step-ups left him winded. Resistance rows seemed almost silly to him. Heel raises made his calves ache, and bridges felt awkward. But he stayed with it, and within weeks, the transformation began, not dramatic at first, just small sparks of progress. The day he told me he had risen from his recliner without grabbing the armrest, his eyes lit up with the triumph of a small victory. Soon after, he began climbing the steps of his porch without hesitation. His voice changed. His laughter returned. His children noticed it before anyone else. By the 6th month, he no longer used the cane inside his home. By the 9th, he was walking daily again, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. And on his 82nd birthday, surrounded by family, Edward stood and gave a toast without trembling, without support. He later told me, with tears in his eyes, "I thought my life was ending. I didn't know it could begin again." Ladies and gentlemen, this is the power we are talking about today. These are not just movements for muscles. They are movements for life. They reawaken connections between the brain and body. They give back control. They rebuild dignity. And when you strengthen your body, you strengthen your mind as well. Neuroscience tells us that exercise stimulates brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein that acts like fertilizer for brain cells. When you perform these functional movements, you are not only training muscles, you are training neurons. You are protecting memory, sharpening focus, even lifting mood. That is why people who incorporate strength and balance exercises into their later years often report not only fewer falls, but also clearer thinking, improved emotional health, and greater confidence in daily life. Now, let me address something important. Many of you have heard the phrase, "Motion is lotion," and it's true. Our joints thrive on movement. But not all movement is equal. Walking is rhythmic, repetitive, predictable. It keeps the engine running, but it doesn't challenge the system enough to adapt. The exercises I've shared with you, each of them demands balance, coordination, power, and control. They ask more of you, and because of that, they give more back to you. Think of your body like a symphony. Walking is like playing the same note over and over again. It produces sound, but it doesn't create music. These 5 exercises are like bringing in the strings, the percussion, the woodwinds. Suddenly, you have harmony, depth, and power. They awaken dormant parts of you, turning simple existence into vibrant living. And let me share with you a surprising fact. Research shows that strength training, even light resistance done consistently, can reduce the risk of mortality in older adults by as much as 46%. That means people who incorporate these kinds of movements live not only stronger but longer. And it's not just lifespan, it's health span. What good is living to 90 if the last 20 years are spent in frailty and fear? The goal is not just to add years to life, but life to years. I remember a woman named Helen. She was 76, and her greatest wish was to dance at her granddaughter's wedding. But she was struggling with her knees, with balance, with fatigue. We began working with the 5 exercises. At first, she doubted. "I don't think I'll ever dance again," she whispered. But when that wedding day arrived, she did more than dance. She twirled, she laughed, she celebrated with abandon. Her granddaughter later told me, "That was the greatest gift anyone could have given us." Seeing her alive again. That, my friends, is the ripple effect of health. It touches families, memories, generations. As I speak to you now, I want you to imagine your own life in the years ahead. Picture yourself at 70, 80, even 90. Do you see yourself moving slowly, with fear in every step? Or do you see yourself rising strong, engaging, living fully? The choice, in many ways, begins with the decisions you make today. You do not need a gym. You do not need hours of time. You need commitment, consistency, and the belief that your body is still capable of remarkable change. Some people think it is vanity to want strength at an older age. I disagree. It is not vanity, it is vitality. It is the difference between being carried and carrying yourself, between watching life pass by and participating fully in it. And the truth is, when you reclaim your strength, you also reclaim your joy. Because joy is found in freedom, and freedom is found in movement. So here is my call to you. Do not settle for the myth that aging must mean weakness. Do not accept the quiet erosion of your independence as inevitable. Begin with these 5 exercises. Start where you are, with what you have. Progress may feel slow, but every repetition is a declaration: I am still here, I am still strong, I am still alive. I have seen too many people wait until it was too late. Too many who said, "I'll start tomorrow," only to find tomorrow stolen by illness or injury. Do not wait. Life is happening now, and your body is waiting for you to awaken it. And when you do, something extraordinary will happen. You will not only feel stronger, you will inspire others. Your children will see it. Your grandchildren will notice. Your friends will wonder what changed. And perhaps, just perhaps, you will be the spark that ignites their own transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, walking will always have its place. But for those over 60 who want not just to survive but to thrive, there is something greater. 5 simple, surgeon-approved exercises that carry the power to restore strength, balance, confidence, and joy. Sit to stand, step-ups, resistance rows, heel raises, and bridges. 5 movements. 5 opportunities to reclaim your life. Do them not as chores but as rituals. Not as tasks but as celebrations. Because every time you rise from that chair, every time you step onto that platform, every time you lift your body into a bridge, you are not just moving muscles, you are writing the story of a life lived fully, deeply, and without apology. And if you remember nothing else from my words today, Remember this: it is never too late to be strong. It is never too late to reclaim your freedom. And it is never too late to live with dignity, vitality, and joy. So go, begin. And may every step, every lift, every rise remind you that you are capable of far more than you imagined. Because the strongest years of your life may not be behind you, they may still be ahead. Thank you. Thank you. And as I let those words linger in the air, I want to remind you that behind every piece of research, every statistic, every exercise prescription, there are human beings. Flesh, blood, spirit. People just like you, who once sat in a chair thinking their best days had passed, only to discover that their body was still capable of miracles, when given the right invitation. I once worked with a couple in their late 60s, Robert and Eleanor. They had been married for over 40 years. Robert had always been the strong one, the caretaker, the provider. But as his health declined, it was Eleanor who became his caretaker. She told me she missed the feeling of his hand steadying her when they walked together, the simple act of leaning on him as they crossed the street. Robert felt the loss even more deeply. He said, "I feel like I'm disappearing from my own marriage." We began the program slowly, focusing on those 5 essential exercises. Eleanor joined him, even though she had no pressing health issues, because she wanted to support him. Within a year, not only had Robert regained the ability to walk confidently without his cane, but something more powerful had happened. The dynamic of their marriage had shifted back. He was once again her steady partner, her protector. She told me with tears, "You didn't just give me my husband's health back. You gave me my husband back." This is the deeper truth of movement after 6CK. It is not just about preserving your independence. It is about preserving your relationships, your roles, your very identity. Too often, aging steals from people the sense of who they are. A former athlete becomes frail. A once active grandmother becomes limited. A vibrant man becomes dependent. These labels weigh heavier than any diagnosis. But exercise, done correctly, done consistently, has the power to strip away those labels and reveal the enduring strength beneath. Let's talk for a moment about the neuroscience of aging. When we move, our brain does not just fire off commands to muscles like a drill sergeant shouting orders. Instead, movement is a dialogue. The brain sends signals to the muscles, yes, but the muscles send signals back. Every heel raise, every bridge, every row, every step up is a message to the nervous system. I am alive, I am connected, I am capable. And the brain, in response, sharpens. Neurons grow new connections. Reflexes become quicker. The fog of age begins to lift. This is why many older adults who commit to functional strength training report not only improved physical ability, but also clearer thinking and more stable moods. The mind and body are not separate. They are partners in the dance of vitality. I remember a retired painter named Lucille. She was 79 and had stopped painting because her back and shoulders hurt too much to sit at the easel for long. Her daughter begged her to try exercise, but Lucille resisted, saying, "At my age, what's the point?" Finally, she relented. We began with gentle resistance rows and bridges. At first, she laughed, saying it felt ridiculous. But within months, her posture had improved, her pain decreased, and most importantly, she picked up her brushes again. One afternoon, she brought me a painting of a field of sunflowers, vivid, alive, bursting with light. She said, "This is what I feel like inside now." That is what these exercises give back. Not just strength, but the ability to express who you truly are. Science supports what we witness. A study published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society found that older adults who practiced resistance and balance exercises had a 31% lower risk of falling compared to those who only walked. Another study in The Lancet revealed that muscle strengthening activities, when combined with aerobic exercise, led to a 23% reduction in all-cause mortality. Numbers like these are not just abstract. They are proof that every repetition is an investment in years of life and quality of living. Now, let's address the fear. Many older adults hesitate to do these exercises because they fear injury. They think, what if I fall? What if I strain myself? I tell them this: the greater risk is not in doing the exercise. The greater risk is in doing nothing. Inactivity is far more dangerous than a cautious, guided exercise routine. The body is like a well-kept garden. Neglect it, and weeds will take over. Tend to it, and it will surprise you with blooms you thought impossible. When we encourage sit-to-stands, we are planting seeds of leg strength and independence. When we practice step-ups, we cultivate balance and stability. With resistance rows, we nourish the spine and open the chest. Heel raises strengthen the roots of stability in our feet and ankles. And bridges awaken the glutes, the hidden engines of motion. Together, they create a garden of resilience. And resilience is the antidote to aging. But there is another dimension, one we do not speak of enough, and that is emotional health. So many adults over 60 struggle with feelings of invisibility, of being left behind in a fast-moving world. When they regain physical strength, something changes inside them. They walk taller, literally and figuratively. They make eye contact again. They feel worthy of being seen, of being heard. Exercise, in this sense, is not just physical therapy. It is soul therapy. I once worked with a man named Hassan, 74 years old, who had stopped attending community gatherings because he was embarrassed by how slowly he walked. We introduced him to heel raises and sit-to-stands, progressing gently over time. A year later, he was not only walking without hesitation but had joined a local dance group. He told me, I thought I was finished with joy. But joy wasn't finished with me. That is what we are truly protecting when we talk about health after 60 of the joy of living. So, if you are sitting here thinking these exercises are too simple, remember this. Greatness often hides in simplicity. It is not the complexity of the exercise that matters, but the consistency. A bridge held for 20 seconds every day is worth more than an unused treadmill gathering dust. Step-ups on a single stair done faithfully can restore the ability to climb mountains, both literal and metaphorical. And let us not forget community. One of the most powerful motivators for older adults is not the exercise itself, but the connection it fosters. When groups gather to practice these movements together, something magical happens. Laughter fills the room. Encouragement flows, friendships blossom. Movement becomes not just a task, but a shared celebration of life. I have seen people who once felt isolated find their tribe in an exercise class. And with that tribe comes accountability, purpose, and belonging. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in an era where medicine can do extraordinary things. Replace hips, repair hearts, extend lives. But no surgery, no pill, no procedure can give you what daily movement can. Strength cannot be implanted. Balance cannot be prescribed. Confidence cannot be handed out at a pharmacy. These are things only you can cultivate through action, through repetition, through faith in your own resilience. And here is the truth that humbles even the most advanced surgeons. The best surgery in the world cannot outdo the healing power of a strong, prepared body. We know this because time and again, the patients who recover best are not the ones with the most advanced medical technology, but the ones who entered the operating room already strong, already resilient, already engaged in the very exercises I have described today. So I ask you, not as an authority, not as an expert, but as a fellow traveler in this human journey, will you choose to remain still, or will you choose to rise? Will you accept decline as inevitable, or will you fight for your strength, your independence, your joy? I can promise you this: your body is waiting. It is waiting for you to challenge it, to engage it, to awaken it. And when you do, you will not only surprise yourself, you will inspire everyone around you. Because the sight of a 70-year-old rising strong from a chair, a 75-year-old climbing stairs without fear, an 80-year-old standing tall and steady, an 85-year-old laughing with the freedom of movement, that sight is a reminder to all of us of what it means to be fully alive. So rise, my friends. Rise to the challenge. Rise to your potential. Rise to the life that still awaits you. And remember, in every sit to stand, every step up, every row, every heel raise, every bridge, you are not just exercising. You are reclaiming your life. And may that life be long, strong, and filled with the vitality you deserve. Thank you.